As soon as COVID hit and I knew the exhibition was coming up, I, had to consider COVID and the implications of that, for the most part of it, thinking that the exhibition wasn't going to go ahead. So sort of taking baby steps towards it, but at the same time thinking it won't be happening. So it feels like things are left to the last minute quite a bit. When I say that, that's about the last month that it was definitely on. But to cram all of the organisation in that time, particularly dealing with the RSVPs and having to consider, all of the health considerations within the gallery. In implementing the COVID plan really meant communication with the gallery committee, negotiating with them how it all works, and then we communicate what we need out of it, but we do very much need to stick to the plan that's being provided to the gallery, and that would be coming from government sources. I think that Wollongong Council will have also had quite a hand in what the expectations are. Serving food, for example, I've actually devised a way with little paper plates, and they go in a little lunch bag and a little cup with olives, and I'll have all the chopped cheese, and so we're a lot of stuff during the day, just preparing all that food. Whereas normally you could just pop it on a platter and pop your crackers on, and so be it. Keeping public spaces, toilets and spots like that clean regularly is something that normally you just really wouldn't have to think about. I've considered wearing a mask, and it's a hard one because a lot of what we will be doing is talking to people and communicating, so it does make it a little bit tricky. So yes, I definitely will have a mask on hand, and if I think that it's required, I'll be popping it on. Hopefully everyone's well when they come. Everyone's got to take responsibility of their own thing, so I expect that people will bring their own masks as well. So we're going to have someone on the door who will be admitting people, checking them off, making sure we've got all the correct phone numbers, and if they've bought a partner, their partner's phone numbers and so forth. That person also has to double up as just making sure that people are keeping that right space apart. But we have a backup person as well who'll be keeping an eye on what's going on. If there's any problems or anything, they'll be right in there helping out. Well, the devil's in the detail, keeping all the names and knowing what's going on with who's coming and going and when.
Virginia Cetra weaves her creative genius with many colourful threads. She's a fashion maker, milliner, corseter, festival pageantry, community connections, cultural celebrations. She's worked in the Opera House, costume design, running her own business and making other businesses thrive. Andy O'Fee, local shaker shaman and perpetual provocateur. He learnt his design skills making hundreds of posters for hundreds of gigs for 15 bands that he was in. He ran the communist printing press, created a magazine called Behind Enemy Lines. His love of letraset, copiers, offset printers, bromides really trained him in graphic design. And First Nations, always his inspiration. The political, his passion. We live in a time that will not be forgotten. We oscillate between poised pandemic introspection and an explosion of trans-global repression, rage and resistance. It is a time to shake off our old ways, face what's being exposed, and embrace the possibility of transformation. We create the world we want to live in. As we pay respect to the ancestors, the artists and the activists of generations, let's dance that new world into being together here tonight.
I've been working in this fluoro UV art that I've been trying to make. Started off as like banners for parties and celebrations, just to make a special space for people. What I have in here is pretty well a product of 2 years of work, and Has a lot of different styles, from mandalas through to a whole series of COVID portraits. We have magic gardens of people. We have the corroboree frogs that made it all the way through the bushfires. Giant disco ball to celebrate all coming together and dancing under the disco ball. I get such a thrill out of it, what keeps me going.